The bride exposed her sister, but the groom exposed something worse.
What would you do if your own sister stood at her wedding reception, lifted a champagne glass, smiled at 200 guests, and announced that you were a prostitute who lost her womb because nobody wanted her? Yeah. Before we continue, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell for updates. That's how my sister Vanessa chose to start the happiest day of her life. The chandeliers were glowing. The string quartet had just finished playing something soft and romantic. People were tipsy, comfortable, ready to laugh. And Vanessa, glowing in white lace, perfect makeup, perfect posture, tapped her glass and said,
I just want to thank everyone for coming, especially my sister Elena.
That was my cue to smile politely. Then she said it.
My sister lost her womb during prostitution. Nobody wants her.
Laughter. Real laughter. The kind that spreads in waves because people assume it must be safe to laugh. Before I could even process the words, my mother leaned toward the mic from her seat and added,
She's always been a disgrace to this family.
More laughter. Let me ask you something. Have you ever felt a room turn against you in real time? Have you ever watched your identity get rewritten in front of people who don't know enough to question it? Because in that moment, I wasn't a woman who survived emergency surgery at 27. I wasn't someone who nearly died from a congenital condition I didn't even know I had. I wasn't a daughter. I was a punchline. Nothing more. And the worst part? Phones were out, recording, smiles everywhere, my humiliation packaged as wedding entertainment. But here's what no one in that ballroom knew. Someone else in that room already knew the truth, and he wasn't laughing. Daniel Brooks, the groom, calm, observant, the kind of man people underestimate because he doesn't talk much. While the room roared, he didn't even crack a smile. He just stared at Vanessa. Then he stood up, slowly. He reached for the microphone. He didn't look at his bride, he looked at me. And then he said 3 words that turned that wedding reception into something else entirely. But to understand why those 3 words mattered, you need to know what Vanessa had been building toward for years.
Wait, the groom already knew the truth, so why stay silent until the speech? And why would the sister be saying that publicly? Nah, this didn't start tonight. Something's been building.
This didn't start at the wedding. It started when we were kids. If you've ever grown up as the other sister, you'll understand. Vanessa wasn't just popular, she was magnetic. Cheer captain, honor roll, homecoming court, the kind of girl teachers described as radiant. Meanwhile, I was the quiet one with library books and second place ribbons. And in our house, second place might as well have been invisible.
Why can't you be more like Vanessa?
My mother would sigh like she was asking about the weather. It sounds small, harmless, but imagine hearing that for 15 years straight. Comparison isn't loud abuse, it's erosion, slow, constant, precise. Vanessa learned early that attention was oxygen. She inhaled it. I learned that silence was survival. By 27, I had built a life far from home. A steady job, a small apartment, peace. Then one night, everything changed. Severe abdominal pain, emergency room, surgery I never saw coming. I woke up to a doctor explaining that I had a rare congenital condition, internal damage, complications. They had to remove my uterus to save my life. I didn't even get to grieve properly before the whispers started. Vanessa visited once. She stood at the foot of my hospital bed, arms crossed.
Well,
She said lightly.
at least Mom doesn't have to worry about you having kids now.
She smiled when she said it. That was the first time I realized something. My tragedy wasn't sad to her. It was useful. After that, the distance between us grew. Months would pass without contact. Then suddenly, an elegant cream envelope arrived. Vanessa's wedding invitation. Front row seating, family spotlight. Strange, right? Why invite the sister you barely speak to? Looking back, I should have known. Vanessa never did anything without an audience. And that wedding speech, it wasn't spontaneous. It was prepared. What I didn't know yet was how long she'd been preparing it. But when she lifted that mic and turned my surgery into a joke, I realized something chilling. She hadn't invited me to celebrate. She had invited me to perform. And she wasn't done.
She might have fun just to humiliate her. That's calculated. And why would that on her own wedding day? Was it jealousy or something deeper?
You don't know what humiliation feels like until it echoes. At first, it was just a few scattered laughs, the kind people give when they're unsure whether something is a joke. Then Vanessa tilted her head, smiled sweetly, and doubled down.
Some people
She said into the mic.
make choices that cost them everything.
More laughter. She walked slowly across the dance floor as she spoke, white dress trailing behind her like she was delivering a monologue on a stage.
And when you lose something as important as your dignity, well, sometimes you lose other things too.
She didn't say the word again. She didn't have to. Everyone got it. Phones were pointed at me now. I could see my own face on someone's screen across the room, frozen, stunned, caught between blinking and breathing. Have you ever wanted to disappear inside your own skin? To evaporate? My mother chimed in again, not even standing.
We tried to guide her,
She said with a dramatic sigh.
but she's always chosen poorly.
That's when the laughter turned confident. Because here's the thing about crowds. They take their cues from authority. The bride, the mother. If they're laughing, it must be safe. I felt heat rush up my neck. My hands were shaking, but I kept them folded in my lap. I didn't cry. I didn't argue. I didn't give her the spectacle she wanted. And that's when I noticed something. Daniel wasn't laughing, not even close. He was sitting stiffly in his chair, jaw tight, eyes locked on Vanessa, not confused, not amused, studying her, like he was seeing something for the first time. Vanessa raised her glass again.
But hey,
She added brightly.
we all have to live with our consequences.
That was the moment Daniel stood up. Chairs scraped against the floor as people shifted to look at him. Vanessa laughed nervously.
Oh, honey, I'm not finished.
He took the microphone from her hand. No smile, no hesitation. 3 words.
That's not true.
The laughter died instantly, and just like that, the wedding stopped being hers. But what happened next wasn't the defense I expected. It was something much bigger.
Man, he didn't just defend her. He said, that's not true. Like he has proof. But why wait up to now? Either he's calculating or she is.
When Daniel said, "That's not true," I thought he was just being kind. I was wrong. Silence spread across the ballroom like spilled ink. Vanessa blinked at him, still smiling, but it was tight now. Brittle. "What do you mean?" she asked lightly, reaching for the mic again. He didn't hand it back.
I mean,
He said calmly.
none of what you just said is true.
You could feel the room shift. People weren't laughing anymore. They were calculating, replaying her words in their heads. Vanessa let out a small laugh.
Daniel, babe, it's a joke.
No,
He said.
it's not.
Short, controlled, final. Then he did something I never expected. He looked at me again.
Most of you don't know this,
He continued.
but Elena and I met months ago at the St. Mary's Hospital fundraiser.
A ripple of confusion. I hadn't told anyone that.
You were organizing donor outreach.
He said to me gently.
You stayed 3 hours after the event ended because one of the patients had questions.
The room was quiet enough to hear silverware clink.
She saved me.
He said. That landed heavier than anything Vanessa had thrown. Saved him? Vanessa's face changed. Not confusion. Panic. Daniel turned back to the guests.
I had surgery last year. Complications. I didn't tell many people. Elena didn't know who I was, not really. She just saw someone overwhelmed and helped.
He paused.
And while we were talking, she told me about her own surgery. A congenital condition, emergency procedure, medical records, doctors, facts.
Facts. He let that word hang.
So when I started dating Vanessa,
He continued evenly.
and she told me her sister lost her womb because of prostitution, I knew that wasn't true.
A collective inhale. Vanessa stepped forward.
You went through my phone?
No,
He replied.
I asked questions.
Then he reached into his jacket.
Because someone has been spreading that rumor for years.
And what he pulled out next would turn this wedding into something no one could control. What Daniel pulled from his jacket wasn't dramatic. It wasn't a weapon. It was paper, printed screenshots, calm, ordinary, devastating.
I didn't want to believe it.
He said, holding them up just enough for the front tables to see.
But when I asked around, when I spoke to people Vanessa went to college with, when I compared dates,
He looked at her.
you started this rumor.
The room didn't gasp this time. It went still. Vanessa's voice cracked for the first time that night.
You're embarrassing me.
No,
Daniel said evenly.
you did that yourself.
He didn't shout. That's what made it worse. There was no chaos in his tone, no rage, just clarity. He explained how the rumor began years ago, a jealous comment after someone mistook me for the prettier sister at a campus event, a lie told as a joke, then repeated, then sharpened, until eventually it became convenient. Convenient when I got sick, convenient when I couldn't have children, convenient when she needed a villain. Vanessa lunged for the mic again.
Stop. This is my wedding.
Daniel looked at the officiant, then at the guests, then back at her.
I won't marry someone who destroys people for applause.
It was over. The words didn't explode. They settled, heavy, permanent. My mother stood up, furious, blaming me. Of course she did. But no one was laughing now. The same guests who had raised glasses minutes ago were staring at Vanessa like she was a stranger. And here's the part that surprised me most. I didn't feel victorious. I felt free. Remember when I asked what you'd do if your sister tried to ruin you in public? I did nothing. I didn't need to defend myself. The truth did it for me. She tried to destroy me with a microphone, but the moment Daniel said, "That's not true," the story stopped belonging to her. And sometimes, that's the only justice you get.